Welcome to this little weekend review I prepared. I'll show you all the stuff I caught this week. So here we are starting out in London, Ohio, a former town where the NYC crossed the PRR at a diamond right there in front of those signals. Coming out of the now London siding and once used to be the ex-Pennsylvania main line to Xenia is NS 179. Daily Bellevue, Ohio to Irondale, Alabama manifest traffic. .179 today is being led by a General Electric ES44DC and a Horsehead -944CW. .179 today just about took up the entire length of the siding, and I don't think he could have gotten any bigger. What is usually a monster train was kind of okay today. About 120 or so cars. The switch that he's coming out of now, which is the west end of the London siding, used to be a pair of crossovers on the old PRR main line. Now it's downgraded to 25 miles an hour coming out. Note the Railfanning over there. That is a good friend of mine, Rex Woods. He is accompanying me on this little trip. We'll see him again later in the video. Rex is an avid historian, everything about NYC. And on the bottom end is an NS AC44 C6M rebuild. Norfolk Southern has been building quite a lot of these recently, converting old -944 CWs and 40 CWs into environment-friendly, more eco-friendly actually, units, such as this one. After 178, I ran into Columbus to look at CSX's Parsons Yard and also get a look at the transfill yard at the south end. In the yard sits a little old relic, a Norfolk & Western covered hopper with the N&W initials still on it. Pretty cool. Also at the south end is this yard set with an SD40-3 and a GP38-3. The amber strobe lights on the top corners of the locomotive indicate that these are radioactive locomotives, remote controlled. At the north end of Parsons Yard sits the old C&O roundhouse, said to be torn down at some point. It's a good thing I came over here to get shots of it while it was still here. The CSX ES44DC sits by the yard office, uniquely with this old C&O signal in the yard office as well. At the north end of the yard sits another yard set. This one another SD40-2 and a GP40-2, both in remote control service. 8244 is an ex-B&O number 7602 and an also ex-Chessie. CSX 2020 is also an ex-Baltimore and Ohio GP38. Pretty cool to see both Baltimore and Ohio's here. 178 heads north at CP Weber on the Sandusky Line at milepost 4. 178 is daily northbound traffic on the Sandusky Line out of Irondale, Alabama to Bellevue, Ohio. This was the train we missed earlier in the meet with 179 in London. Today he's carrying a DPU on the bottom of the train, an ET44AC. These are my kind of favorite GEs around. I then moved down the CP146 on the Dayton District. That's Alton Siding over to the left. Out of service and probably to never be in use again. We're at the former Northwest connection in the Buckeye Yard. Buckeye Yard was ripped out about a year or two ago, maybe a little longer ago. It was very upsetting to a lot of the rail fans in the area, and honestly, I kind of think NS might have made a mistake doing that. A clear signal down at 144 over there warns us of approaching eastbound manifest NS 170, daily Chattanooga, Tennessee to Conway, Pennsylvania, with a nice SD70 Ace leader and an ET44 AC second. Pretty good lash up, if I do say so myself. Next day found me at CF 74.1 on the NS Newcastle District. Here we see NS train 189 making his way eastbound through the town. 189 is some manifest and a lot of auto racks today, and with a shiny NS AC44 C6M, one of the brand new rebuilds I told you about earlier, leading the way solo. It's interesting to see solo engines nowadays. They weren't as common before. And mid-train is another NS AC44 C6M rebuild. Like I said before, they're rebuilding all the old Dash 9s into the new AC44s. It will be a sad sight to see all the Dash 9s gone, but a little interesting to see what kind of new things they'll be built into. Waiting in the siding behind me after 189 cleared was NS westbound empty potash train 61P. 61P is ass-needed potash off of PAL in Louisville, Kentucky, heading back to the Canadian Pacific at Chicago. The Canadian Pacific run-through power was a bonus for us today, led by two Canadian Pacific GEs and an old NS-9 44CW still on the job. I love seeing the Dash 9s, a classic relic to the Norfolk Southern. The next thing wasn't until later when I moved a little bit east to Campbellstown. Here, NS train 177 rolls east into the meet 142. 177 is the old 25A. A couple months ago, NS started a re-symbol change of their intermodal trains. The second engine on 177 caught my attention. A BNSF locomotive, but with Kansas City Southern markings on it. No doubt Kansas City Southern acquired this locomotive. And up came 142 with UP, CSX, and another UP. At milepost 155 on the NS Dayton District, we're on the old Pennsylvania main line from Columbus through Xenia to Cincinnati. Here at the intermediate signal at 155, the eastbound side is showing a red, meaning that there is a westbound coming and approaching. So I set up here because of the clear open shot near the cornfields. Looking west down ways, you can see a clear view into London. On most days, it's perfect. In a little bit came up NS40Z, grain loads out of Columbus, Ohio to New Orleans, Louisiana. The UPSD-70M is what caught my attention today. S8.6 on the NS Sandusky Line, here came a northbound grain train on Norfolk Southern with a very sweet EMD lashing. In a little bit, this grain train will be crossing over the CSX Burt Line on a diamond, just on the other side of those signals down there. I moved about 2 miles south to S6.4, called Cook Road. The green signal on the left is lit for northbound NS 19W, daily Winston-Salem, North Carolina manifest to Bellevue, Ohio, with an AC 44C6M and an SD 70A for power. 19W is not normally a big train usually, and it's a new one, so this one was no exception. I would have waited for a southbound I had coming, but the weather was starting to get the best of me and getting too cold, so I ended up heading home. The next day at 168 on the Dayton District, a spot called Myers, we see NS 171 with a nice lash up of an ES 44DC, an SD 40-2, and a Union Pacific GEVO. .171 is daily manifest out of Conway, Pennsylvania to Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's the counterpart to the 170 we saw earlier in the video. Another day finds me at CP 162 in London, Ohio. This is the east end of the London siding, also ex-Pennsylvania. The right-of-way off to the left, which I'm standing on, used to be the double-track portion all the way to 150 in Columbus, Ohio, but Conrail ended up ripping that out. Over here is the former industry lead in the Staples. Them and Norfolk Southern had some kind of a disagreement, and NS ended up removing and cutting service to them. The clear signal is for L52, Columbus, Ohio, which comes to London on Wednesdays to work ADS. L52 can carry anything from a GP38-2, an SD40E, and an SD40-2. Tonight, it was a rebuilt Admiral Cab SD40-2. About a day later, we see NS 170 heading east at CP 182 through Springfield, Ohio. On this particular day, he happened to have 5 RJ Cormans in trail. The first of the 5 happening to be an ex-Grand Trunk and ex-DT&I. Pretty cool that it's been around this long since then. Didn't think any were still left over in new form. site that I am standing at is the former site of the Big Ford Depot in Springfield, Ohio. The depot was torn down long ago, and now an overpass is where it sits now. It's sad to see that such a giant relic like that is gone. It makes me wonder what it would have looked like still standing today. Would it see any passenger trains? Would it see the freights going by the canopies? I don't really know, but I bet rail fans sure would like it if it was still here. Later in that same day, we see NS 171 heading west at CP 162. And this time he had something I really was not expecting, something that I possibly couldn't think he would have had. A rare BNSF in Heritage 1 paint, trailing second behind the leader with a nice horn. That there, friends, is good friend Rex Woods in the foreground. The 170 that had those RJ Cormans had tied down in London and met the 171. 170 ended up getting a new crew and was on his way back east. Here he is in the fading sunlight in a beautiful scene in West Jefferson. Later in the week, NS 178 snuck up on me in London. I wasn't able to get on the Pennsylvania Depot side this time. .178 today was unusually short, and I don't even think he managed to reach 50 cars. Either way, he still managed to have a rear DPU on the end of the train, an ES44 DC, number 7717. remember how I used to say that the double track from 160 to 150 was ripped up a couple years by Conrail? Well, this is the other end of it. Conrail thought it was a good idea sometime when they were using the line to rip it out, because clearly they were not envisioning 2 mile to 3 mile long trains like this. This is 179 departing from a crew change at CP 150 with all Union Pacific power today. The train is about 214 cars. Massive train, evidenced by the PSR precision schedule railroading philosophy. Evidence of the double track main being here is just off to the right of the switch. Like I said a minute ago, 179 is 214 cars on this day. Really massive. It's impressive that they're able to make trains this long. Today's mid-DPU is a rare Union Pacific AC 4460 CW. Me, Tyler, and Rex ended up driving out to Worthington to milepost 10 on the NS Sandusky Line, and at a park found this old Baltimore, Ohio red caboose. The trucks on it serve that this is an original Baltimore and Ohio. At least the trucks are. I think it said something about them being built in 1945. A little farther up in Lewis Center is the old Lewis Center signal box, or signal house, I meant. Looking north, we can see that on the left track, the NS Sandusky line, a northbound, is lined up, and the red on the other side is set for a southbound. And here comes NS 170 with a nice mixed bag of power, including an SD 40-2 third. looking north, we see the headlights of an approaching southbound. And not long after comes 171, flying south into Columbus, Ohio. Next, we move up a couple miles, now on the CSX Burt Line at the south end of the Delaware Loop. The Delaware Loop breaks off the main line, runs through town, and goes by a couple depots. At milepost 117, we're set up for a southbound CSX train. This one, C318, coal loads from Newell, Pennsylvania to Cross, South Carolina. Leading this are two AC-44CWs, one of them in YN2 paint. Right before PSR, this track used to see at least 40 to 50 trains a day between the NYC, Penn Central, Conrail, and early CSX days. But now the track is mostly just used for as-needed grain moves, coal moves, and a local. We now move into the actual town of Delaware, somewhere on the loop track. Here, a fascinating sight, a Frisco passenger car. Actually, this passenger car is not from the Frisco at all. Later research determined that this car was owned by some kind of subsidiary Rio Grande Line. I don't remember exactly which one was. Over there at the intermediate signals on the loop, right next to it is where the old switch to the Delaware branch through Mechanicsburg and Springfield lied.
So we are on the loop track in Delaware here on the Burt Line. That is the Big 4 main out of Columbus. Going off to the right here where these trees are over there, that used to be the Delaware branch in Springfield. So basically the same railroad, but they were built different time periods. The best way to see that is if you look at the two depots. Two different eras. Depot there on the left, the brick one, is the oldest one, with the line coming out of Springfield, Delaware. That's known as the B line depot. Then later on, they would build the Big 4 depot over there, which they have converted into a bar.
That depot right there was the old CCC and STL. Research on this one across the tracks from it revealed it to be the old CCC and I, before they added the St. Louis part into what is now called the CCC and STL. Apparently, the depot is being leased and is open for it. Maybe we might try to get in there sometime. Inside is an old reminder of what this line and who this line also used to be, an NYC sticker. Very cool. Later, we moved into Mechanicsburg and found this old Alco S2 Baltimore and Ohio switcher, now used to move grain cars whenever I&O, CSX, or NS brings in empties to be loaded at the elevator behind us. Across the street used to be the old CCC and STL, actually Big Ford Depot, torn down sometime in the past. You get a good layout looking west towards Springfield as the line curves around a barn, or at least I think that's a barn. I'll have to do research on that too. And then there's what's left of it looking west on towards Marysville and Delaware. Sad of what it's become. Now, originally what I was going to do, I was going to end the video right off there, but then two other really good trains showed up about a couple days later, and I figured I'd tack them on to the end of this video because why not? Also, yes, if you saw the Baltimore, Ohio Alco S2 thing pop up just a few seconds ago, that was a little bit of editing error. I tried to go back in there and for some reason it wouldn't let me fix it, so I apologize for that. I had gotten word hours before that Norfolk Southern Train 179 had a Kansas City Southern leader, so I made it out to Brooks Siding at milepost 176 on the Dayton District just in time for the catch. Again, we noticed that 179 today was only about maybe 85 cars. And not much bigger than that. It's kind of a surprise, actually. On the end of the train was BNSF 8567 and SD70 ACE, making this train a really cool catch today. Later in the day, the last surprise came by as NS 170 showed up heading east through Springfield, with 3 more R.J. Cormans going to Pennsylvania, probably for servicing somewhere. Probably either Pittsburgh or Crescent, Pennsylvania. Once again, very pleasant sight to see more R.J. Cormans. I hope you guys liked this video of the stuff that I've caught the last week or two. Make sure to hit that like button somewhere down there. Make sure to subscribe as well. And hit that bell for when I post new videos. Until then, until next time, this is CYJ Railfan, and thank you for watching.